Welcome back.
Thank you.
You're supposed to say to the Indiana Jones Minute.
The what?
Let's do that again.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing was. Yeah, go ahead. It's all right. Thank you. All right, hang on.
Indiana Jones, Indiana Jones, Indiana. It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones, Minute.
See, this is terrible.
Yeah, this is terrible. You would think
But
by
it's
halfway
charming.
through, halfway through, we'd have this kind of
Yeah,
on lockdown.
but we don't. But that's also because we're not officially starting Last Crusade Minute 1 yet. This is
Right.
Today we're going to be talking about the teaser trailer and the official trailer that came out before Last Crusade. So we'll be starting with Season 3 fairly soon, but we want to give you guys a little bit of a teaser yourselves with our review of the teaser and official trailers for the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
I like to call it a bonus episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So just to be clear, this is one of those things that like you'd go see a movie maybe early in 1988 or something, and yeah, you'd be watching and this would come on the screen. This trailer would come on the screen of the movie you're about to see, and you'd you have your socks blown off.
Yeah, the teaser was originally released in late 1988, and if you were in the movies in 1988 and you went to see Scrooged or The Naked Gun, you would have seen this teaser.
That's where I remember this from.
Wow. Yeah. I saw Naked Gun in the theater.
Yeah, I did too. So we probably all saw this, and it's interesting. It's a little bit different take on the teaser than the previous one.
Yeah, we could just say it's an all behind the scenes trailer, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, kind of this is what we're working on. It's going to be a lot different than what you're used to, what you were used to in the last movie, I think they're kind of going for.
Yeah. And I'll just say at the start, and just because maybe my opinion will change as we talk about it, but I'm a little weirded out by this teaser. The behind the scenes nature of it is a little weird to me.
Yeah.
On the one hand, it sounds like almost like you just said, Pete, like, hey, we're busy making the movie, but here's us making the movie. We don't have time to put together an actual teaser. Most people do, but we're busy right now.
Right, we're too busy making the movie.
Yeah, but it feels a little like, oh yeah, teaser. There you go.
Yeah.
Technically, you just saw Indiana Jones. He's talking like Harrison Ford, but he looks like Indiana Jones.
Yeah, we'll see a few familiar faces. Before we get into the actual teaser there, I'll give everybody just a little bit of background. Mm-hmm. A couple of months after Temple of Doom was first released, back in September of '84, George Lucas finished his 8-page typed story treatment that he called Indiana Jones and the Monkey King. And so from September of 1984 until this point, December of 1988, when we're seeing the teaser, they've been working on this story and on the film. So that's a long kind of production process, pre-production process.
And there are like you can find that like versions of that treatment, can't you?
Yeah, you can find lots of versions, and it's hard to tell what's real and what's fake.
Yeah, and like I thought there's like a script, isn't there? Like
there's a script.
that podcast.
They did
Hollywood.
Yeah, they did a dramatized version of it.
Well, they started. I don't think they ever finished it. They got
really?
Like half an hour into the movie or something, and then they stopped.
I can't take this.
Forget it. It was fun. I was enjoying it, but then I kind of hope they go back to it.
Well, do you think? Why do you think they released a behind-the-scenes thing rather than like an actual full-on? Here's our trailer for the movie. What was? Why do you think they sat down and said, no, let's do a behind-the-scenes thing specifically with lights, camera, action, and directors' chairs and the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a couple of theories on that. One, Steven Spielberg. There's a funny quote. Let me see if I can find it. He had an interview with Premiere Magazine where he basically said he wanted to apologize for Temple of Doom. And he said this movie was going to be his apology for Temple of Doom, and he wanted a movie that he could stand naked on top of. I think that was his quote.
Ew.
Like he basically wanted something that people would be like, this, I'm super proud of this. He had a lot of second thoughts about Temple of Doom, but I think this is kind of his make good. And so I think one of the things they're doing with this teaser is they're saying, look, we're working really hard. We're working on something that I think, and it has a feel very much of Raiders.
Whoa, so he felt contrite about Temple of Doom that fast. I didn't know it was that quickly.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot of stuff recently about him. Just
Sure.
Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Sure.
That long ago was kind of surprising.
Yeah. And then there's another, there was an interview with Frank Marshall, also from December of 1988 in Starlog magazine. And they're kind of talking to him about this upcoming Indiana Jones movie. And he said, first of all, Crusade's going to be a lot more like Raiders than Temple of Doom. And then he said it's going to take place in 1939 because Harrison Ford isn't getting any younger. And Harrison Ford actually literally said, don't make it a prequel again. I can't keep doing this.
Sure.
And he said, there's something final about this adventure. The quote is, we all signed up for 3 pictures in the beginning. This is it for Harrison. This is it for all of us. That's probably why we're calling it The Last Crusade.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so people are going into this, and there's already a buzz out there, even when you would have been seeing this teaser that, hey, this is the last Indiana Jones movie we're ever going to see.
Well, and
Although,
it was.
I remember Harrison Ford having the best line ever in the press, like when the movie was coming out and everything.
Uh-huh.
They're like, do you think you'd ever, be Indiana Jones again after this? I know it's 3 movies and you're supposed to be done, but do you think you'd ever do it again? And he said, if working with Sean Connery has taught me anything, it's never say never again.
Oh, wow. That's
I
funny.
thought that was pretty smooth.
And that's funny because he often said he didn't want to do movies again. So that's...
and now look at him.
Yeah. But yeah, so then we actually, the teaser starts and you get the familiar Paramount Mountain that we've had for the first 2 movies, and we get the Ark theme.
Yeah, it's cheating.
It's cheating, yeah. It's pulling on our Raiders,
On our Ark strings.
our Raiders Ark strings. Yeah,
It's like showing a picture of your grandmother. Oh, hi, Grandma.
I love this movie.
What you doing?
Well, it's certainly rousing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the opening shot looks nothing like Indiana Jones to me.
I'm pretty sure that shot is not in the movie.
With the,
Thank
my
you.
notes.
the fighter
Yeah.
plane chasing the car?
No.
Even
the-
before that. Just
Oh,
like
just that the grass waving in the
grassy-
field?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
some Lord of the Rings something or other.
Legend tells of a man with a hat.
Exactly. It doesn't look like an Indiana Jones. Thank you, Tommy. It's not. It's not in the movie. I'm not nuts.
Hey, wait,
if
can I
it
bring up
is-
something?
Yeah.
Can I interrupt everything? Jer, have you watched Last Crusade yet?
No, I have
All
not
right.
That's awesome.
watched
I'm glad.
Last
I'm
Crusade
glad.
yet. No.
Okay.
So this really is a teaser for you.
This is a teaser for me. Yeah.
And by the way, you're a good Indiana Jones fan for seeing a shot that you didn't even know if it was in the movie or not, and you thought it didn't seem like Indiana Jones. That was
Yeah,
really good.
that's good. That is very good.
Yeah. It seems strange. I mean, full disclosure, I'm not a huge fan of behind the scenes stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not knocking anybody who is. I mean, but I think the teaser's great, and I think it's well done. I mean, they keep showing Harrison's hat flying off and that sort of thing, and I think it's well put together. But it's not. I don't want to know that they had to shoot a specific shot like 17 times before they got it right. I just the movies for me are all about escape. And, I guess the overall thing is, hey, the movie's in production. We haven't forgotten about you guys, and
Right.
this is going to be great.
And forget you saw this when you're watching the movie.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, I don't, and I
Yeah.
think it's a very well done teaser, though, if you're going to do a behind the scenes one.
And this was a long time after Temple of Doom, so a lot of people
Yeah.
have probably kind of written it off. So when they see this, they're probably like, hey, look, we're actually really working on this. We're working
Yeah.
furiously.
Yeah, it works. I mean, it works for
Yeah.
that.
I guess Last Jedi just did that too, didn't they? They released like a sort of, it was a very behind the scenes kind of teasery thing of just like, it was at some like Comic-Con or something where they just showed a bunch of behind the scenes stuff and they leaned heavily into Carrie Fisher because she had just died. So it's not unheard of, but it was then, which is where we are now.
Just looking at this generally, we see a desert, we see a tank, we see a horse, we see a
Right.
hat, and then we see Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Well,
cheers.
yeah, we get these very dramatically open director's chairs. Like and
Yeah.
on the canvas back, it has people's names. So the first one, they kind of whip it open and it says Harrison Ford. And you see him crashing through a window and then he knocks on his head with his fist and winks. And then we get Spielberg's director's chair. And he kind of, he's holding a walkie-talkie. And you're like, is that a gun or is that I don't know what that is.
Didn't they redo this preview
Yeah.
years later and replace that rifle that he has with a walkie-talkie?
Yeah. And then you get George Lucas, his director chair, and there's a shot of him kind of sitting on a mountainside.
This is my favorite part of the entire trailer or teaser because he's wearing a Industrial Light and Magic shirt from the 80s. And Jerry, you might be able to remember this. I had that exact damn shirt. I
remember
had
you
the
did.
shirt that George Lucas
Yes.
is wearing.
Yeah.
It's like a magician coming out of like a big gear with a
Yep.
floating light bulb and stuff. Yeah.
Was yours the baseball shirt like his?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I was very athletic, so I would wear like softball shirts.
And then after that, or actually, before that, I did one thing we kind of skipped over that I wanted to mention. We get a shot of a camel making a very tauntaun kind of sound.
Yeah.
And so I'm
Yeah.
guessing we're still in Ben Burt fever dream territory.
Now it's Ben Burt's dream.
Yeah.
He's like drooling on his board, just
Yeah.
pressing buttons.
And after George Lucas's chair, we get this kind of famous scene where Indy's his hat flies off as he's riding a horse, and then you see him stapling his hat to his head. He says the hardest thing
Yeah.
is to keep your hat on.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's actually really
Yeah.
great.
That is really great.
But then after all that, we get to what Jerry was talking about. We get a chair that whips open and it says Sean Connery. And if you hadn't been following Starlog or that kind of thing, you're probably like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in this?
Yep.
And then, I wonder if your first thought is, I wonder if he's a bad guy.
Oh, weird.
I mean that's what happened to me last night. I mean, I was like, "What? Sean Connery's in this?"
Hey, don't spoil it for Jerry.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
And he's holding a Dixie cup and he's kind of saying, he says cheers. And he's got
Yeah.
sunglasses on. Like he could be a kind of an upper crust bad guy.
Yeah. Speaking of bad guys, Hitler is in this preview. Or Admiral Ozzel.
Yeah.
Depending on how you.
Yeah.
What's weird about this? So it's a shot of everybody standing around, and Spielberg's talking to Admiral Ozzel as Hitler, and he says, "I could kill you with my bare hands," and everyone's like laughing about it, and we get that joke. But looking at this now, and maybe it's just because I'm looking at it on a small screen, but does it read that that's Hitler? That he's dressed up as Hitler? And that's why Spielberg wants to kill him with his bare hands. He's not just threatening an actor on his set for no reason. It's weird. I know I got it at the time, so I guess it works, but it seems weird to me.
Is that who he's saying that to?
I didn't
See?
realize that was him either, actually.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that's
Oh,
Hitler.
really?
That's the guy that he says I could kill you with my bare hands. He's talking to Adolf Hitler.
Because he looks like Hitler, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it didn't work.
Yeah, and then we get a couple little scenes from the movie, like Indy and Sean Connery tied up next to a big fire, and then you get Sean Connery aiming a giant machine gun, which again might kind of give you pause. Like, is he the bad guy?
Yeah. He's trying to gun down Indiana Jones.
And you get a lot of elements here. You get Nazis, you get desert, you get horses, you get Indy's hat flying off. You get a lot of big outdoor sweeping action, and I think right away you get more of a lighthearted feeling, and you get a sense that this is definitely a departure from Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe that's part of why they did the behind the scenes thing.
Yeah.
Because they're all having fun, they're working hard, they're sweaty, they're, there's that shot of shirtless, sweaty Harrison Ford hugging Sean Connery in a moment of blissful passion or something.
Yeah.
And that image has been locked in my head for years since I saw this. Like, they seem really happy, they're really excited, but gosh, he's got to be so sweaty. Sean Connery's got to be a little bit grossed out.
Yeah, he just kind of, hey, back off.
I wonder, did he wax his back?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about manscaping already.
Manscaped. Yeah, Harrison Ford has a glabrous back. I mean, he just might be one of those guys. I mean, he is perfect. So,
Yeah.
Maybe since his hurt back in Temple of Doom, he's been cherishing his back, treating it to massages and
Oh, yeah, he
waxings
probably
and
has. Yeah.
acupuncture. Yeah.
well, I mean, what you're saying is we have what appears to be a little Raiders potpourri.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything from the
desert,
music to the
tanks,
imagery to
Nazis,
the elements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, at the very end, it says Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
but the font is blue. I mean, it has a blue border.
Oh. Is that because the screen is black and they will still want it to have a shadow behind it?
I mean, it's a very different. It's the Indiana Jones colors and font and script, but there's a blue border around the letters,
It
right?
does look a little cartoony.
Yeah,
now
it
that
looks a
you
little more
mention it.
whimsical.
It's different. So I'm like, what is that about?
Yeah.
It's a little Marty McFly. It's a little Back to the Future.
Yeah, it's that blue shadow does a whole different thing.
Yeah.
I'm foreseeing a thread that's going to run through season 3 of Jerry and his blue shadow
Yeah.
knocks against the movie. This is a total blue shadow. This is the blue shadow of this minute.
Maybe it's a reference to Spielberg's great blue hat where it says Indy 3.
Well, no, totally.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah, it says
he's
stunts.
wearing.
That's cool.
They
Yeah.
picked different colors. I mean,
Yeah.
they picked a slight like somebody sat down and said we're going to have a royal blue be one of the color themes here. So we'll have to see what happens. There's a lot of red, and there's the obligatory orange, sort of sunburst.
Uh-huh.
Orange Indiana Jones, and there's a lot of red in these trailers, but then all of a sudden this blue shows up, and on Spielberg's hat, as
And
you
on,
said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Harrison Ford also has a blue hat that says NBC News.
That's so
Yeah.
random.
And he says, nope,
So random.
just another day at the office.
Yeah. Yeah, I equate that another day at the office and the stapling of the hat with his great moment in the behind the scenes stuff from Raiders where he's like, hey, have you ever been dragged behind a truck? He's like, dragging behind a truck. Dragged behind a... Nope. And he's like, you figure it can't be that dangerous because they would have finished more of the movie first before they did this.
Yeah.
He's a funny man
He is.
when he's not being a crank.
He's not being cranky. And then after we get the title, we get some other indications that there are going to be some big changes as we get sort of the list of who's working on the movie, and we see some new writers. And so we don't see Gloria Katz and Willard Hike anymore. We see Jeffrey Boehm, who just coming off of writing one of Jerry's favorite movies, The Lost Boys, and he'd also worked on Interspace with Spielberg.
Yeah, he was huge in the 80s. Like weird, like smallly huge. He was just like doing a lot of different things. Like for some reason I knew his name. I guess I was reading Starlog magazine, so I knew his name from stuff like that. And
they had a nice article just about him right before the movie came out, and talked about like his what he'd been working on and lots of stuff like that.
Did I like The Lost Boys?
You loved The Lost Boys. I remember we had this conversation. You said it was one of your favorite movies.
you and I saw The Lost Boys together in New Canaan, Connecticut, and I don't remember a thing about it.
I remember as he says, Kiefer Sutherland says, worms, Michael. You're eating worms.
The only thing I remember because you always do that.
Yeah, worms, Michael. You're eating worms. I didn't like The Lost Boys. I mean, I think it was fine. It was
That's
fine.
so weird. I swear you and I had a conversation one time.
I'm
And
sorry.
you said one of the greatest movies ever made.
Well,
You misled Pete.
yeah, I was probably just in one of those emotional moods. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. I'm sure it's a fine movie. It's probably like a B minus.
Yeah, I kind of have a soft spot for Lost Boys. I like they filmed it all in Santa Cruz. Get on the
Yeah,
boardwalk. Which
that's
is cool.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeffrey Boehm died.
Oh.
He died in 2000.
Oh wow.
He also wrote Lethal Weapon 2 and 3.
Yeah, and he wrote Lethal Weapon 1, or parts of it was uncredited.
That's how I know him. He did The Dead Zone. He wrote The Dead Zone, the Stephen King movie. That's cool.
Yep. And then you also had Minnow Mayes, who was the other writer, and he had written Color Purple and was also an uncredited writer on Empire of the Sun. So he and Spielberg also had some history. And I'm wondering if this was all, Katz and Hike. Stephen was like, George, you had your writers. We see how that worked out. I'm gonna bring in a couple of mine.
Right. Yeah.
And because we also know that the first guy that was working on this, we'll get into this a lot more when we get into the actual episodes, but the first guy they brought in to work on this was Chris Columbus.
Yeah. Didn't he write he wrote a version of the Monkey King one?
Yeah, he wrote the first version. And
Okay.
I think it was kind of famous because he said he wrote it exactly like George Lucas told him to write it. Like George Lucas said, I want it to be about this, 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 and this. And he wrote exactly that and showed it to Spielberg, and Spielberg said, this is garbage. And he fired him the next day. And that's what Chris Columbus said. I'm never going to, I'm from now on, I'm trusting my instinct. He said, I knew this was some bad stuff, but I put it in there. Anyway.
Yeah. There's some wackadoo stuff in the version that the Alka Hollywood people were doing.
Oh yeah, every one of the original 3 versions before we get to what we have now has some just absolutely bananas stuff in it.
Yeah, there's zero gray area about what's going on with him and his students. Zero.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll find you a copy, Jerry.
Yeah,
You'll
sounds great.
time.
I'll find it by the train tracks.
It's just
Go
over there.
out in the woods.
Out in the woods, the Connecticut woods.
Yeah. Bring a token for the hobo.
Oh my God.
And the last thing we see is Sean Connery as Professor Jones. So then I guess you realize, well, maybe he's not a bad guy. But then you could also wonder, is he old Indy?
Oh my God.
Well, it
Like,
doesn't mean
that's weird.
yeah.
Yeah, his scenes are in 1970.
Yeah,
Yeah. It doesn't mean he still could be a bad guy as Professor Jones.
that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
he could be.
That
Be a
is true.
bad
Yeah,
guy.
he's like the estranged dad. You lost your way, Dad. You're more Belloc than man now, twisted and evil.
So yeah,
But he's not.
that was a good Sean Connery.
Thank you. No, that was my
Oh, that
that
was you.
was my Harrison Ford.
Oh, that was even better then.
Yeah. A man of one voice.
You can do a really good Sean Connery.
I can?
Kind of.
I can do that. I think everybody can do at least like a second of Sean Connery. Like the preview for The Rock, where like Nick Cage says something about, I'll do my best. You're bashed.
That made me laugh.
That's really all you need.
You call that archaeology. There's my Sean Connery.
There you go.
That was good.
Yeah,
That's
thanks.
weird. We had Sean Connery on the show.
We have Sean Connery.
Jerry, you missed it. Sean Connery was just here.
Yeah, well, I'll be curious if season 3 descends into just terrible Sean Connery impersonations the entire time.
Oh God.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
We should. That should be a running. I'm sure guests will want to take a stab at it.
Oh
And
yeah,
we can just rank them all at the end of the whole thing. You think that Jerry's going to hate this movie, don't you?
I don't know if he's gonna hate it, but I don't think he's gonna like it.
Okay.
Like I think this might be lower than even Temple of Doom for him, but we'll see.
Wow.
Wow. Well, I mean, speaking of, should we move into
Yeah?
the official trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 1989, Last Crusade, official trailer.
And we start off with a nod directly to Temple of Doom. The following preview has been approved for all audiences. The film advertised has been rated PG-13.
Oh,
Yeah,
Strongly
yeah.
cautioned.
Now, speaking of our next season, I feel like that's going to be something that we're going to track the entire time. Like, why is this one PG-13? Well, we know why Temple of Doom wasn't, but does this really deserve to be PG-13, based on the criteria of Temple of Doom?
Well, they almost had to give it a PG-13 just as an homage to Spielberg for inventing the
Hey,
PG-13.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, right.
That was the first thing I saw, and the first thing I thought, I can expect the same amount of sculpts and pulpy heart disgust as the Temple of Doom,
yeah.
or, at least a PG-13 gremlin in a blender, like a gremdler type scene, and they're setting it up. They're setting it up. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the new normal now.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. They've kind of raised the bar a little bit.
Oh, we get the whip almost right away in this one. Mm-hmm. And this uses Raiders music too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I said
It starts off with the arc
he
theme.
starts off with the arc theme, and that's, my Indiana Jones organ just got to messing. That
Lasts
just
longer than 4 hours. Call your doctor.
no, that's how I they, as you said, Tommy, it's kind of cheating, but
It is a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, but it's
it is.
okay. What are you going to
Yeah,
do?
well,
We're
and
selling a movie.
yeah, and also, one of the first things you hear is the Holy Grail, Dr. Jones, and I think so. They're not playing patty cake with us. They come right out
Right.
with a Western civilization blue chip quest, the Holy
Right.
Grail. And, it's like we got 2 solid feet planted in Christianity. And at least none of us Midwestern Cracker Barrel eating types, we're not going to have to do any homework on this one, right? I mean,
Right.
Tommy, you still got a couple of pieces missing on the Jesus jigsaw puzzle, but
That's right. I slept through enough masses to pick up on the Holy Grail, and I saw Monty Python movies. I'm good. It is the Holy Grail of Holy Grails.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not.
Well, do you
know
think
what it
people
is.
thought it was the actual Holy Grail, or do you think that it was just like, because everybody now says it was the Holy Grail of archaeology, it's the Holy Grail
Right.
of this, the Holy Grail of that. Like, do you think people were just thinking, oh, it's the Holy Grail of archaeology? I wonder what that is.
Yeah, it's the Pink Panther diamond. It's
Yeah, that's
the
funny.
Holy Grail of diamonds.
Or has the term the Holy Grail become more popular in use just for like anything that is the most sought after item in a field? The Holy Grail. Is that because of
just what
this
Pete said?
movie or because of Dan Brown novels or something?
Oh yeah.
One thing we'll get into is they were doing research. Like George Lucas had some staffers start working on some research about the Holy Grail not too long after they finished Temple of Doom, and Spielberg hated the idea. He's like, oh, it's too mystical. No one's going to get it. And, a lot of the research she came back with it wasn't what you think of when you think of the Holy Grail. Like, she went into sort of the pagan aspects of the Holy Grail rather than what we think of it from the movie.
Well, I feel like you remember the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail? Mm-hmm. That came out was it the mid 80s? Maybe the late 80s?
Well, that might have been the 70s.
Was it? Okay.
What was it?
That was a book where these 82.
82. Okay, so this is starting to get popular. This whole Grail mythology thing is now entering the sort of
Yeah,
popular
that's true.
culture.
You're right. Yeah, and Holy Blood, Holy Grail, for those that haven't read it or heard about it, was a book that came out by these three guys back in 82 where they were talking about how they believed they had found the actual Holy Grail, and it was the bloodline of Christ, like I think through Mary Magdalene, and which kind of, I think Dan Brown eventually, lifted a lot of this for his Da Vinci Code novel. But this was where a lot of that started.
Right.
They did
Oh,
a
so
bunch of-
like so saying that it's not like the Grail is not a object.
Right.
It is
Right.
following the bloodline.
Exactly.
Oh,
Right.
So I remember they kept speaking about Sangreal, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
it was
which is
it was
either-
the bloodline of
Yeah.
Jesus, I believe, and
Yeah, in French, song is blood and real is royal.
and like Mary, like the Virgin. What? God, was it Mary went and lived in France?
I think Mary Magdalene had Jesus' son, and she fled with his son to France, and then they kept the bloodline alive through the years, and they became the Merovingians later on. And there was a whole, like, it passed through several, and basically they were saying in the book that the bloodline of Christ is still alive, and there's a secret society, the Priory of Science, protecting it. And they kind of went through all this crazy conspiracy theories and, kind of goofball history. And they had, Knights Templar and all kinds of, all the elements you think of.
Oh,
And a lot of that stuff ended up in this movie.
I feel like this is exactly like Indiana Jones and the Golden Buzzard's Eye.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But that's weird. I mean, but you say that like Spielberg hated the Grail stuff, but then he liked that aspect of it. But none of that's. I mean, like
Well, I don't know if he liked that aspect of it. I think he came around on
okay.
it, but I think he made a deal that I'll let you.
because it's
I'll let
definitely an object in the movie. It's
Right,
definitely
right,
a
right,
Grail.
yeah.
It's a cup.
Yeah, he didn't. They
It's
didn't go. They didn't go with that.
Yeah,
They didn't go with all the
spoilage.
stuff. Yeah, and I think Spielberg was kind of like, "I'll let you have the Grail if you let me have a dad."
Oh my God, really? I feel now.
Each other.
I feel like saying
All you hear lately is like this push and pull, and God damn it, I'm just trying to make a movie.
now I already know we have a Grail and a dad, and
Yeah,
it's an
and then when,
object.
yeah, and then when the dad came along, there was all kinds of fighting too. Like George Lucas wanted him to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of guy, and so it really, there was a lot of work that went into kind of coming up with who we came up with, which I think they nailed, but there's going to be a lot of stuff
Yeah.
we'll get into throughout the season. Mm-hmm. Back to the trailer, one of the first things I notice is we've got a new lady, and we don't have Marion or Willie back.
Right. It's two-timer.
Yeah.
Dame in every movie.
Yep. He's got another blonde on his arm, and he says, "Oh, rats."
Yeah.
And we get a camera panning down to see a whole bunch of rats.
This is a weird beginning to this preview because after the rats, they spend like, I don't know, like a full 10 seconds on him finding the knight's corpse and the shield is the second mark. And you're like, what is he talking about? I don't know what a shield is. What is it? It's like the rest of the preview is just like most previews, like images and ideas and things. Oh, this looks neat. Oh my gosh, what's happening there? But this is like sort of dialogue about something you have no idea what he's talking about. And it's a weird thing to spend a few seconds on in like a 2-minute preview.
I guess so. Although when it comes out, I wonder if you kind of go along with the action. It just sort of background noise. It kind of adds flavor.
I guess so.
I don't know. Yeah, I was wondering about that too, though, because they do go into a lot of kind of stuff like that. And I was also wondering when they slide the lid off of the coffin, if we get another toilet bowl sound effect.
Oh, maybe.
I don't remember.
Funny.
Wow,
Maybe we don't in the
wow.
trailer.
I don't either.
I hope so.
I hope we do. Yeah, I do too.
I'm
I love toilet bowls.
Tommy, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm nervous about the "oh rats" comment. We just started the trailer, and it just feels like I might get struck with a stupid stick. Maybe drubbed with a dumbing
Right.
club.
Well, I got one of those later on in the preview,
I've got
too,
two of
so
those
yeah,
later
there's-
on. Yeah.
Okay.
we hate this movie.
There's a dumbing down. There, you're looking at the rat now. He goes, "Oh rats," and I'm just maybe
Yeah.
I have a Temple of Doom hangover. You know what I mean? But it's just what comes in my mind is like lazy and kind of like it's way different than snakes. Why'd it have to be snakes?
Right.
That's like we learn that our character has a vulnerability. This is like he looks down and says, "Oh rats."
I have a horrible question to ask that just occurred to me. If this line that I'm about to say had been in if it had come out in 1989, would we have thought it was a horrible, horrible, hacky line? Bad dates?
Boy, that's hard for. Yeah,
That's
like stuff
hard.
Is that along the line of rats? Sorta. I don't think it is, and I'm gonna punch myself in the guts for even bringing it up later because
Yeah.
it's awesome.
I don't see.
But
I
I'm
don't. I don't
wondering.
think it is. I think that's
Okay.
Oh, because rat. It's not really a bad pun. It's not a.
Right.
It's not a joke.
It's just cool enough.
Yeah.
And by cool, I just mean just not overdoing it.
Listen,
Yeah.
a lot of
Okay,
this
it's
is,
awesome.
I think a lot of this is just it's kind of like hearing a cowbell in a song. You go, is that okay to put a cowbell in the song? And you go, well, what's going on with the rest of the song? If the singing is great, if the rest of the
Yeah.
song is awesome and the performance is compelling, then a cowbell in the song can be amazing. But if the rest of those things aren't there, you're left going, why the hell did they put a cowbell in here? That's just distracting and stupid. What I'm saying is that's how I feel about the bad dates comment. It's like the rest of the movie's amazing. We love Sala. It's well acted, well put together. There's no penalty for that. Yeah.
But see, I almost wonder if Spielberg is kind of anticipating some of your concerns, Jerry, because he immediately kind of turns up the music, and it's the truck chase music.
Yes.
So he's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm going to drown that out."
Yeah. Well, then then we get the line, but for some adventures, one Jones is not enough. And I mean,
Right.
that's a real joker in the deck. Like I was not expecting that. Does just before anyone touches anything, just fold your hands.
Yeah.
Does Indiana Jones have a dad?
I think the midichlorians formed
I mean,
Yeah.
through a virgin birth.
like and just one step forwards, like, did Indiana Jones ever have a curfew? Like,
Maybe.
I mean, did he
Yeah.
have parent teacher night?
Yeah.
like-
you have to save up for his first car.
Exactly.
They have a paper route.
Did he have a paper route? Like I don't know. Like I don't know if I could wrap my head around that.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have some fun with this movie, Jerry.
You can actually see, just from raising that question, you can see how that would be a big debate between Spielberg and Lucas.
Yeah.
Like there'd be a lot of ways you could go
Yes.
with Indiana
Yeah,
Jones's dad.
yeah.
He could be like a tycoon somewhere or something. He could be a
Yeah.
plumber. He could be a card shark. He could
Yeah, or he could be
anything.
Obi-Wan / Yoda, like wise old
Yeah.
man.
Well, I kind of
Right.
like, if I'm going just on Raiders, I'm just kind of thinking like maybe his dad was absent, or he was raised by Egyptologists or something. Like I'm not really thinking, and like maybe at some point Marcus kind of took him under his wing, like didn't really adopt him officially, but like
Right.
found him when he was 15 or something, and he was kind of maybe a little bit like a short round type thing. Like maybe he
Yeah.
was stealing pocket watches, and he was digging up, searching in caves or something with the torch, and Marcus found him, said, "That's not how you light a torch." You know what I mean? You're gonna
Right.
ruin all the artifacts. Here, let me burn them. Like,
You taught him too late.
yeah. So I'm just kind of like, I need a minute. And I'm glad
Yeah.
we're gonna have a little minute before we start the movie, because I gotta try those dad pants on. Indiana
Yeah,
Jones
yeah.
having a dad.
And he even says dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you immediately get a very old-looking Sean Connery saying, Junior.
I'm not positive, but I'm not sure that that dad is in the movie.
Yeah, I
Before
don't
the
think it
junior.
is, actually. Oh, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But it is, it's interesting because Sean Connery's only in real life like 12 years older than Indy, or than Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And so I think they did some aging here.
Wow.
Unless it runs in the family,
What's that?
the Marion Ravenwood business.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't even
an opposite Mary.
It's hilarious. Marion Ravenwood business. Oh my God.
And Jerry, you brought up Marcus Brody, and we get one of the first things that really gives me pause in this trailer.
Wow.
And that's we get Brody sitting on a horse yelling, "Follow me, I know the way." Yeah.
Yeah. Now Brody is notoriously a possible problem with this movie. his characterization. But I don't remember seeing this shot in the preview and being like, "Oh no." Because it's definitely not our Marcus, like even
Yeah.
this. Like he doesn't seem like a buffoon here necessarily, but he does seem completely out of character from what we know of him already from Raiders. And so it seems a little, I'm surprised that I wasn't going into the movie being like, oh no,
Yeah,
they don't
yeah.
have Marcus.
Well, one thing I was wondering about this is, does he suffer from the Boba Fett effect? Like in Empire Strikes Back, we got this tiny glimpse of Boba Fett and built an entire mythology around him in our heads. And we had this image of this ultra cool guy. And then later
Yeah.
on, we see all these things in the movies about him. And you're like, wait a minute.
Not if you ignore them.
Well, yeah. But I wonder if
not if you
Marcus,
not if you see a psychologist.
A terrible dream about this little kid Boba Fett. And I can't get out of my head.
But is it possible that Marcus Brody had all these aspects to his personality, but since we just saw one tiny part of him in Raiders, like we got a very tiny one-dimensional picture of him. I mean, maybe this was the real Marcus in this movie, or is it not? So that'll be something that's interesting to explore.
I
as
mean,
we
you can
go
say that
along.
about any character, like even when you've seen like for hundreds of movies or something. You know, like what if Han Solo can't go to the bathroom right or something? What if he's got like some weird hang up, like he sleeps with a teddy bear or something, and he sucks his thumb and he pees his pants every night or something? You'd be like, oh, I had no, Empire Strikes Back gave me none of that.
Yeah.
I had this totally different image of of Han Solo. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I think, well, hey, that was our Marcus. That we built everything we know about Marcus around what we had about Marcus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pete, I think that's brilliant. The Boba Fett effect. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And I agree. It the first thing that came to my mind was R2D2 flies.
See, you guys,
Like
you're going down the
R2D2
wrong
has
path. You're bringing up all the wrong stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You're like,
This is all
I mean,
stuff that's easily you just sing a happy song and drift off to a happy place, and none of that stuff happened.
I'll tell you this. I mean, and this is where they got me. Much like the arc theme at the beginning, I was just happy to see Marcus.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I didn't really
Yeah.
take it too far, but
Right.
I was
Okay.
just happy to see Marcus. But what I did notice is how interesting is it that Temple of Doom starts with Indy as he's all James Bond like. And then the
Yeah.
very next movie, they get James Bond.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they get James Bond.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'd like to do that on our episode. I mean, maybe for Last Crusade, we can get Steven Spielberg
Oh, sure.
as a guest. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We'll give him a
We'll
hat.
write
Yeah.
an email.
Yeah.
It's worked before.
I'm going to tweet him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tweet at him.
We also got some Sala in here.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous too.
Oh, really?
Wow. But you say I'm not going to like this movie, Pete?
Well, I'm just saying watching this trailer, because I don't know. There's just something about him that seems a little cartoonish, just sitting there with his tie and his rumpled suit.
Huh.
And I know we get a little bit of that in Raiders too, but something about him just feels a little bit off in this. We'll see.
We
We'll
don't
how
see
he plays.
too much of him. It's like just
No,
enough
we
to be
don't.
like,
He's
hey,
just-
there's Sala.
Yeah. He's just riding in a car wearing a fez
Sure.
and a bright tie.
Is it too soon to say some Gestalt things about the movie?
I have to
Like
look up
that.
Gestalt.
And I mean, one of the big things, like the first thing that people groan about when they talk about this movie is Marcus, and then the second thing is Sala. They're like, oh my God, they ruined Marcus and Sala. But I would like to say that I've watched this movie again, much more recently, getting ready for our next season and everything. And I was prepared for those to just kick me repeatedly in the groin, and they only did like once or twice. Like that might be a little overblown. That might be the Boba Fett effect of, you're just sitting there thinking about the things that are horrible, and then it gets built up in
Okay.
your head. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, overly prepare anybody one way or the other. But, that's kind of where I'm at.
I've got a very open mind about all of
I
this.
I show up with a blank slate on all of them.
All right.
That's what. I haven't watched Last Crusade yet. I haven't seen the movie in 20 years, maybe 25, and I just show up with a like I watched the trailer and I am just going off the emotional wave. That's exactly it. I'm happy to hear the Ark music. We're back. I saw the O Rats thing. Was a cause for pause there.
You handled it
But-
well, though.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. I notice here we have again we have a blonde female with Moxie, as we talked about, and I feel like that could go either way. I mean that's a little bit of a blending of like, okay, well a Willie Scott, but maybe with some Marion type attitude. I don't know.
We get another familiar face here. We get Admiral Ozzel is back
Yeah,
as Adolf Hitler.
that's right.
Wow.
And he was the very briefly seen submarine captain in Raiders.
Yeah. I'm still not sure I saw him in there. but I believe you.
It's a little funny here because the first thing I think of is I'm like, does Indiana Jones meet Adolf Hitler in this movie? I mean, is this is kind of is this like a Forrest Gump thing? Like, what's going on? Indiana Jones meets Adolf Hitler?
Take that, Adolf.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I don't know. That might be
Yeah.
a stretch. I mean, I'm just watching the trailer.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of hard to introduce Adolf Hitler into a movie that's
Yeah.
not about Adolf Hitler.
Right.
And
Right.
and know exactly how to handle that.
Right.
So yeah.
Perfectly said. Yes. Yes. So now it's like I got one leg up where Indiana Jones has a dad, and I got
Right.
one pant leg on, and then I'm struggling with the second pant leg, and somebody say, now you got to put on an Adolf Hitler turtleneck that's a size too small. It's like Indiana Jones has a dad, and he meets Adolf Hitler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he invents the
Okay.
milkshake.
Yeah.
We do get his famous line right here, though. He said, "Nazis, I hate these guys."
That is a good line.
Yeah.
I almost wish that wasn't in the preview because it's a really good line.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't want it spoiled for anybody who hasn't seen the movie yet.
No,
And then right after that, we get what I think is the kind of O-Rats line is Indy and his dad are tied up and they've spun around away from the Nazis, but into the burning room, and our situation is not improved. It's like, all right. You don't like being tied up and there's the fire. And, okay, Rick Oley, thanks. There's going to be dad humor in this movie because it's his dad. I see.
You know what's tough is watching this, and maybe I'll get through the film and feel this way. I feel like, God, Sean Connery can get away with so much.
Yeah, that's true.
I
That's
don't.
very
Yeah, it's and so I understand that's kind of goofy, but it's showing that the dad maybe is, I don't know, maybe he's a little hapless, but in sort of a cute and charming way. He doesn't really seem. I mean, in that sort of situation, you think, well, he doesn't really lose his cool. Maybe it's the hat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the hat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know what you're saying, though, Tommy. It's a little.
It's like there are a lot of lines in movies where you're like, you didn't have to write that line. You didn't have to write it down. You didn't have to have the actor say it. It would have been fine. Go get yourself a cookie. You don't have to write every line down that comes into your head.
It's funny though, and one thing we'll get into when we're getting into these later minutes is a lot of Sean Connery's character was developed by Sean himself.
Oh,
Like,
really?
He pushed for a lot of things,
Ah.
and he kept pushing for him to be younger and cooler. I think as well, as he wanted him to be constantly competing with Indy.
Mm-hmm.
So
To the point where he's supposedly done it with a Bond girl.
yeah, that was actually his idea. He was like, oh, if Indy's going to sleep with her, so am I. Like, I think
I'm not
he
surprised.
wanted to put a lot of stuff in there that was kind of like, hey, I'm still James Bond.
Yeah, that's funny.
He can get away with a lot, like I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this character would have been disastrous in a lot of other people's hands.
Well, and
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think Sean Connery in 1989. I mean, that's royalty, you know. Not that he isn't now, but I mean, it really, really strong presence there.
He was sort of freshly reminted royalty too at that
Yeah.
point, wasn't he? Because he had his big, huge comeback with the Untouchables. That was like, you know, he won an Oscar for that, didn't he? I think.
I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up. You
Yeah.
guys talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, there was a lot like
Well, yeah, like he never went away, but he came
Yeah.
back in a big way with the Untouchables, and then he kind of never went away again until like
it was
10
like
years ago or something.
Hunt for Red October was a smashing success. That may have
Yeah.
been, I can't remember what year that was, but again, it was that period. He had a huge.
That was the next year, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking at some. Oh, it turns out he's an actor. Look at that.
We do have, I mean, a line that kind of sets us up for the whole movie that Sean Connery says. You know, the quest for the Grail is not archaeology; it's a race against evil. So you know, they're kind of already setting us up here. You know, this movie. It's like taking half a cup of Raiders with a dollop of Temple of Doom with a dad garnish.
Yeah.
Because that line makes me think immediately of Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they're fighting against
Right.
actual supernatural powers.
And I thought
Yeah, it
about
sounds like his dad's like fully into that.
Yeah.
right.
Where Indy only is at the end of every movie.
So maybe Indy's just rebellious. Like maybe that's why he doesn't believe in all this stuff.
Oh, maybe.
But if we think about the actual Holy Grail, like the object that they're searching for, I mean, the first thing I thought of was like, okay, so Hitler loses that whole Ark of the Covenant thing, and he's just
Paging through the Bible. What else could I
yeah,
use?
exactly. He's sitting there. It's like, I wonder, does anybody know where David's slingshot is?
Yeah. Like the rudder from from Noah's Ark, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, isn't he also nervous because he knows that any army that carries the Ark before it is invincible? Shouldn't he be like trying to make a peace pact with the United States about now?
Yeah, he should have fallen to his knees right away.
Well, but
unless he's totally like insightful, he's like, those bureaucratic fools are just going to crate it up, and I'll never see it again.
but check
At least
this.
they're not going to use it.
But think about this. Maybe this entire quest for the Holy Grail is actually because he knows, all right, the Americans have the Ark of the Covenant. So, but if I find the Holy Grail, then I'm going to live forever.
So it's like a rock paper scissors.
Yeah, you
kind of
can't
situation.
really. Yeah, you can't kill a guy who's going to live forever.
Yeah. And then Roosevelt gets bitten by a vampire.
Yeah.
And then goes
By
on
a
from there.
vampire.
It kind of you're outflanking the Ark of the Covenant by trying to live forever with the Holy Grail. You know, he's leafing through the Bible. Yeah, I mean,
So yeah, maybe this is a direct response to
you
that.
get Esau's hair shirt.
Yeah.
You get the
John the Baptist crickets.
exactly.
The jawbone of an ass. I just wanted to say jawbone of an ass.
Samson's long locks. There's a lot you could do. I mean, we got all sorts of stuff that we
Yeah,
could search
yeah.
in the Bible.
See you in Indy 5 in 2020.
We get another Imperial officer, Julian Glover, formerly General Veers, with another iconic line from the movie, Germany has declared war on the Jones Boys.
Yeah. No, I maybe this is because I saw this preview mostly on TV or something, and it was like panned and scanned, but I clearly remember that they wisely cropped him out of that shot, and you only saw the Nazi guy looking in the window because you've only, I'm going to ruin it for my friend Jerry. You find out later on that that guy's a bad guy. He doesn't start off as a bad guy.
What?
Julian Glover. Sorry, Jerry. It's telegraphed a mile away. It's okay. But yeah, it's weird. I'm surprised they put that in the preview. Unless this is like a different cut of the preview. Probably not. I don't know. It's just weird. I always thought like, oh, that was really smart of them to cut that out of the recrop that shot for the preview, so you don't find out the General Veers is a bad guy.
Well, I feel like, so just kind of an overall a takeaway from both trailers here. You know, we get some Sala, some Marcus, we get some Nazis, some hats, a whip crack, a little desert rumpus. We're getting we're getting the band back together.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
definitely.
what could possibly go wrong.
Now, I should say that exact phrase has been used as a reason why people don't like this movie sometimes, or like a problem with this movie.
Sure.
That it's, hey, it worked in Raiders,
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah.
right.
which is valid. But we'll see if it adds up to a good movie or not.
Well, especially with Pete, what you said earlier. I mean, Steven Spielberg. This was like a, this was his penance for Temple of Doom.
Your point?
I mean, he just went back to what everybody. He just went. He went back to what everybody knows. It's like a couple of a decade of Hail Marys, and an Our Father. This is the same. Yeah, it's just whatever works.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, we talked about that a lot during Temple of Doom. Like people who love that movie or at least appreciate that movie would say, darn it, they tried something really different with Temple of Doom, and if it had worked, or if people had gone for it more, we would have gotten a very different Last Crusade, and that might have been even really, really better and cooler.
I think they're thinking that the dad thing is enough of a departure. Like it's basically, and the last line is, keeping whatever have keeping up with the Joneses. So it's now Jones hijinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be Jones hijinks, which, by the way, I think it came out May 24th, right? So we're ramping up and they're gearing us up. They're priming us for summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of surprised me. When opens Wednesday, May 24th? Because I always kind of thought that the Wednesday opening was a modern thing, like a more thing that just happened recently. But apparently this happened in 1989.
Is maybe modern enough for that kind of thing. Maybe that's when that sort of thing. 89 was like kind of a sick summer. That was like this, Batman, Back to the Future 3, I think, Ghostbusters 2. These are all off the top of my head, everybody. I'm not even looking at the computer. Star Trek 5, of course. Star Trek 5. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was like a huge, weird, I remember all the articles were about, hey, every single movie coming out this summer except for Batman is a sequel. It's like the first time that ever happened. So in a way, that's sort of like the beginning of, I don't know, a certain stage of movie blockbusters in a way. And so, yeah, maybe they did start that, just
Friday's
playing
not
fast
early
and
enough.
loose with what a Friday actually is, what an opening day.
Fast and loose.
But it is, it is, again, it's, Spielberg invented the blockbuster, the summer blockbuster with Jaws, and now he's taking it. Maybe he's the first one that did a Wednesday. I don't know. Or maybe lots of people are doing Wednesdays.
I'm still thinking Fast and Loose Wednesday. That's where I'm at. It's a little paradox, a Fast and Loose Wednesday.
Yeah, we have that at work. We have Casual Friday and Fast and Loose Wednesday, or we all cheat on our spouses. It's not true. Not even a good joke. It's stupid. Oh, here's a reference that I'll make when we get to this scene in the movie, but I'll make it now. At the end, there's that nice part where Sean Connery's like, "Oh, this has never happened to me before. Like people trying to kill me," and he's like, "That happens to me all the time." That always reminds me of the "This never happened to the other fella" line from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, where you've just seen your first scene with the guy who's not Sean Connery, who just took over James Bond, and he looks at the camera and says, "That never happened to the other fella." This isn't exactly the same thing at all, but it always reminds me of that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's even a slight nod to that.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I like the chemistry between Indy and his dad in the trailer. Yeah. Yeah. It's walking a very thin line there, but it suckered me in with all their Indiana Jones sugary sweetness. So
Hey, you say like, that a departure was like having the dad be in the movie and stuff. And that does sound like a later era blockbuster kind of thing to do. And it does sound an awful lot like something that would never have happened in 1980 in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So in a way, it makes me a little sad. It makes it a little more sitcom-y or something.
Yeah.
But I do think they pull it off well. So I shouldn't
Oh,
really
I
complain.
absolutely do too. But it's funny because Raiders feels like an adult movie from beginning to end. And just this introduction of the sitcominess of the dad makes it feel a little bit like this isn't as much of a serious movie.
Yeah, it's like the audience and the filmmakers have all gone from like kind of callous teenage weird, kids desensitized to violence and everything, and now they're all growing up a little bit together. And some of us have kids, and some of us are whatever and stuff, and a little more sensitive. We want a little more joke 'em ups and stuff.
And we're at the stage where, when Indy comes on the screen the first time, everyone's going to clap politely and everyone's going to...
Yeah.
I just
You just try to shoot a guy.
you guys are making me all sad. I
No,
just
don't
got
get sad,
sad.
Chris. It's gonna be
It is. It's sitcom-y. Now the dad shows up.
Haven't even started the third season. We got a
Yeah, and his name is Oliver, and he's a loser. and-
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's
the
like.
Brady
It's
Bunch.
kind of Cousin Oliver.
Cousin Oliver on the Brady
Yeah.
Bunch, and he's a total
Right.
loser, but he's the
Or
millionth
Scrappy
guy.
Doo or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a Robot Gilligan or something. I don't know. Just like throw something else in there.
Robot Gilligan. I'm gonna puke. Oh my god.
But thinking about that, though, let's revisit Temple of Doom. Do you think, in light of that they got Temple of Doom exactly right when they did bring in a family member, but he turned out to be kind of this, this kid off the streets that's got a lot of moxie and that's got a lot of drive, and he's not a sitcom kind of family member.
That is the weird, like, it's not a paradox, but it is like a surprise that they would bring in such an obviously Cousin Oliver kind of element.
Yeah.
Well, pair Indy with a kid, and it really doesn't come. A lot of people think it does just totally fall flat on its face that way.
Yeah,
And they hate
that's
Shorty.
true. Yeah.
But I think it works really well in that movie. I
Yeah,
think he's
I
a
do
good
too.
character. He's not that goofball kid, minus a couple of fortune cookies and stuff. But he's not like, the cutesy poo Cousin Oliver. Or who's the kid? From Different Strokes, the redheaded
Oh,
kid.
Sam.
Oh,
Sam, I hate your guts. And you named your kid Sam.
Episode, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I did. Oh, where's that sad bell?
Well, listen.
I was thinking like Samwise Gamgee. I was thinking like Sam the Lion. I wasn't thinking of that guy.
Sam,
my
Sam the Butcher.
Yeah,
Sam the
bringing Alice the meat.
Okay. Well, if you had a whole ocean of sad bells, Tom, I was
Yeah,
reading
really.
something today that I guess I'll bring it up now. When they were scoring The Last Crusade, I read an interview where Steven Spielberg was saying he wanted John Williams at the end of the movie to put in everybody's themes. He wanted to have Shorty's theme, he wanted to have Willie's theme, he wanted to have Marion's theme as a way to tie it all up. But knowing how much you love hearing those themes over and over again.
Because it was the
Well,
Last Crusade. Is that why?
I really think they all thought this was it.
Oh, I fully think
Oh,
so.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And maybe it should have been. That would have been a goofy idea. That would have been. I could imagine sitting in the theater being like, "What? Shorty's not in this movie."
I
Willie's
kind of
not
like
in
that
this
though.
movie.
I kind of like because then it reminds you of all those.
Well, they
great moments
ride
from
off
movies,
into
too.
the sunset. I mean, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
come
yeah,
on.
that's not what happens
Yeah.
in Raiders. Yeah.
Right.
So, I get it. Yeah,
Spoiler,
well,
by the way.
sure.
Which ones of them make it to ride off into the sunset? We don't know.
Hey, I'm getting something coming through the wire here.
Oh,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Can we do that on a bonus episode?
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. What is the point of Jones Sr.'s hat? Is it fashionable in 1940? Whatever.
Wait, was it 1940 whatever? Or was it 1940 question mark and then whatever?
I think it's 1940 whatever. It's just kind of... So, I don't know. Well, first of all, they do bring a lot of hats back in this movie. I mean, we see fezzes.
Yeah.
We got Indy's
Yeah,
hat,
a lot
of
of
course.
fezzes.
We got some Nazi cappers. We got, you know, we and Indiana Jones's dad has got a hat. It's like a country hunting sort of
Piltman's Scamper.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. If you put two red eyes and like two red vinyl eyes in the front on the brim, it looked exactly like that kid from Close Encounters.
He's got mashed potatoes on his fingers.
Yeah.
That's why he's got mashed potatoes on his fingers in every scene in this movie, Sean Connery.
Kind of like
homage.
it's one of those, it'd be something you'd find at J. Crew these days. It's like a heather gray professor's mallard hat.
It's a good hat, but I mean, Chrissy brings up an excellent point.
Hat.
Like, does he have to have a hat? Does everybody have to have a hat?
Well, in 1938, everybody did have a hat.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. Maybe that's so that we're all comfortable, you know. And we don't see there's no Mola Ram shrunken head hats. We just
Right. It does look like a very comfortable.
We just go back to the straight and narrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to keep up with the Jones boys, and Germany declared war on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody keep your podcast apps tuned to the Indiana Jones Minute.
What's the frequency for that? What did they set it to?
I think it's set to Indiana Jones Minute.
Yeah. Turn that the big knob.
If we don't know by now.
And if you are just hearing this for some crazy reason for the first time, you can also find us on Facebook.
Oh, and join us on Patreon too. Patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute, where you can get bonus content for helping to support the show. Bonus content including our bonus show, Anything Goes, where we talk about other excellent movies that you love. And if you depending on how much you support us at, you can also get postcards from us every month from each of us.
And
it's
you
beautiful.
get a nice sticker.
Oh, we get stickers.
Yeah. And if
great.
you've been listening, you've already heard us cover the entire movie of Jaws over, 11, 12 episodes?
Yeah, 11
and
episodes.
And we talked about some comic books, Indiana Jones comic books, and Close Encounters, where you get to hear about this twin hat.
Yeah. Spielberg saw that hat on that kid and he said, someday. Someday.
All right. And please, join us back here when you see us next. I don't even know how do we say this?
Join us whenever the next time is.
So listen.
We'll
be back soon. We'll be back before you can say. No, I don't want to say that because I'm getting people's hopes up.
God, this sucks. This is really everything's just like.
This is what we get for not owning calendars.
It's like
we don't know when we're coming back.
It's like we got rusty training wheels.
Oh yeah,
it's like
one of them's broken.
Yeah.
See you on the high. We'll be back soon. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Keep watching your podcast app. We'll be back soon with minute number 1 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Junior!
Junior!
Don't call me that!